Hi, beautiful souls. It's Sadhana, and welcome to my channel. Today, I thought I would share with you my indie tarot deck collection. I have 27 decks here to share with you, and I thought we would briefly have a look at each one. I'm going to show you 3 cards from each deck, one major, one minor, and a court card. And as well, we'll have a look at some of the guidebooks, especially the special publications that were additional purchases. So starting at the back, we have the Sawyer's Path Tarot, here by Jamie Sawyer and the guidebook by her mum Gail, Susserai Beto Tarot by Stacia Burrington, the Ophidia Rose Tarot by Nicole Rallis, Luminous Void Tarot, Laura Zespan, Naked Heart Tarot by Jillian Wild, the Dark Mansion Tarot by Tarotica Studio. I'm not going to try to say their names. I know one is Christoph and Magdalena. Their last names are Polish, very challenging for me to pronounce. And here we have the White Sage Tarot by Teresa Hutch. Mary Griffin's Hesychos Tarot, Pamela Chen, Crystal Unicorn Tarot, Dame Darcy's Queen Alice, Al Schwartz Wooden Tarot, Robin Cole Beautiful Rebellion Tarot, Liz Houston's Dream Keepers Tarot, the Moonchild Tarot by Danielle Noel, Dame Darcy's Mermaid Tarot, Lily White Tarot by Celia Mouseville, Eden Gallanter, the Chemonette Tarot deck. Over here we have Patrick Valenza's Triomphe della Luna, and here's the black and white version, which I haven't opened. I'm just going to keep as a treasure to save it in my collection. And then Luna Soul by Mike Medaglia. This is the Lumina Tarot by Lauren Aletta, the Texture Tarot by Lisa McLaughlin. Here is the Marshmallow Marseille. The studio name is Wandering Oracle, challenging creator's name to pronounce for me. Another challenging name here, but the Creator Studios did on paper. This is the full Arcana deck. This is the indie version of the Anna Kay Tarot. Tarot of the Trees by Dana O'Driscoll. At the front here we have Tarot des Zohar by Laurie LePage. And then that takes us back to Triomphe della Luna. The 10 decks that I have pulled forward here, I have already done a full review or a walkthrough of, and I will link those videos in the description box below. All right, let's start with the Sawyer's Path Tarot. The creator's website is sacredspacetattoo.com. When you go to her website and you click to purchase the deck, it takes you to her Etsy shop, which is at Jammer Designs. And once you purchase the deck, then you'll get a password for the PDF guidebook. So this guidebook does not come with the deck. It's an extra US $10 to purchase this guidebook. And it is exactly the same content as the PDF. And so just briefly, I'll show you. You get a brief description, upright and reversed, for each of the majors, as well as the minors. And then at the back of the book, she has a few spreads. So there's 1 card, 3 card, Pyramid, Celtic Cross, Tree of Life, and a Year Ahead spread. So if you like to have the paper copy in hand, it is available, which is really nice because there are quite a few of the indie decks that, you know, that's just not an option. So nice to have that available. The deck itself comes in a tuck box. The only thing about this deck is it is a standard size tarot deck. And I love the luminescence. I don't know how else to describe it, because the way the lamination is done, sometimes it almost looks as if it is 3-dimensional. So the crystals kind of pop. The back is reversible. And then the cards have this, you know, really nice shine to them. It is super slippery deck. So if you're an overhand shuffler, it's easy to have the cards get out of control. But it feels really nice. It shuffles really nice. It's a very pretty deck. I have not edged this one, and you can see it's very, very colorful. On the minors and the court cards, there's no title, there's no numbers. So you do need to spend a little bit of time just making sure you know what's what. It's Rider-Waite-Smith based, so it's really easy to get to know what's what. Okay, zooming in just a little bit. Here's my favorite major from this deck. This is the Strength card. Love the contrast here with the older woman, very healthy looking older woman, and the lion cub. I find this really, really beautiful. Here's the Two of Pentacles. We have a sand castle. I really like this metaphor of the balance on the sandcastle, knowing that the wave can come in and destroy this at any time. So having that solid footing is really important. I think this card was very, very cleverly done. This court card, so here we have the Knight of Pentacles. He's also drawn a little bit older. And I like that because I think it's really important to know that at any age we can possess any of the qualities or characteristics of the 16 court cards. And so he does not have to be drawn youthful, but that is a quality, right, of the knights in general. But yeah, I like that. And I'm also going to show you an ace of each of these decks. I decided after the fact. Here is the Ace of Wands for this deck. And I love, love, love how these wands are drawn with this woven twig. And you get so much in each of the cards. We have here a view into the potential of the suit. We have the element of fire. And the cards are so well drawn that you don't need to have numbers. You don't need to have elemental signs. It's really clear what each of the cards are. Then we have the Luminous Void Tarot by Laura Zuzpan. And her website is theluminousvoid.com. This is a large deck. This box is really beautiful paper quality, 2-part box. And you can see the cards are huge. This is my hand cards. Love the gold on the back. They're not reversible. Because of their size, I find that these you can only overhand shuffle is the only option for these cards, or you could just do the wash on the table. The sides have gold on them, so lovely backs, and the cards are watercolor with lots of white space. If you like that psychological kind of slightly blurred visioned kind of deck, this is a deck that'll work really well for you. The guidebook is very, very thin, loosely Rider-Waite-Smith based. You get a few keywords. I get a phrase on some of them for the majors and the minors. So just a few pages. This deck is meant to be intuitive, if I haven't already said that. And some of the cards are clearly Rider-Waite-Smith based and others are not. So you need to be comfortable enough with an intuitive deck to use this deck. My favorite cards that I wanted to show you, here's the Death card. Just think that's really beautiful with the rainbow skull. Here is the Page of Cups. I love that she's holding the moon. She's in the cup. This really speaks to the intuitive aspect of the suit of cups. Here is the 5 of Wands. You can just see all these faces arguing here and really brings clear energy to the message of this card. And then there's the ace that I chose. So you have the Ace of Pentacles. Yeah. So while you have a lot of white space in this deck, you do have quite a bit of color too. Large cards, you can't do a big spread if you have a small table. Okay, here we have the Wooden Tarot by A.L. Schwartz. I think I called him Al before. Andrew Liam Schwartz. His website is skullgarden.net, and there you can have a look at his other decks as well as his artwork. This deck comes in a tuck box. Does not come with a guidebook. These are the card backs. Standard size tarot deck, so same as this one here. Shuffles beautifully. Really nice card stock. And this is a very reasonably priced deck. Yeah. And the cards, so on the backs are one coloration of wood grain, and then on this side you get different colors of wood grain, which has nothing to do with the suits. Here we have the Hierophant. The black cards are the aces, so they're called God of, and then their suit. The 4 cards that I have chosen to show you, actually I have 5 in this deck. Here is the extra card, so that's the happy squirrel. The happy squirrel is sitting on an acorn. He has, you can see his third eye here and the lemon's gate above his head. And then, yeah, so what is underneath here, I guess it's open to your own interpretation, but to me it looks as if it's moving upward. It almost looks as if it's flames. Whether you choose to include this card in your readings or not is entirely up to you, but it's a pretty cute card. Here is the Ace of Swords, so the God of Plumes. Each of the aces has a pair of hands holding the element. So here you've got the feather, the plume, and then you've got the elemental sign with an eye. So that's what the aces look like. Here's your Knight of Pentacles, so your Knight of Bones. I love this card, and I think it's quite funny because usually we think of the Knight of Bones as a little slower moving. I get that from the heaviness of the bones and like that, but he's got this tusk, right? And it looks like he's charging ahead like a Knight of Swords, but this is actually the Knight of Bones. Yeah, and then you've got this these pencil drawings in the background. You can see the mountains back here, and then the leaves. Yeah. Here is my favorite major. So here's the Hermit. Tucked here, we can see some crystals tucked in here. It looks as if he's wrapped in leaves. And here we've got what looks to me like mountains. So there are numbers on the major cards. And then you've got your title. I really like this Hermit. I can see, I can see a lot in a little bit. And the subtle colorations. And then here is the 10 of Cups, the 10 of Blooms, which is a really beautiful card. So you definitely can see the potential of this suit. You've got the lotus here that is in full bloom, and you have a crystal ball and then this rainbow coloration here. So that is the Wooden Tarot by Andrew Schwartz. Here is the indie version of the Anna K. Tarot, which is available through her website, annak-tarot.at. The deck is 28 euros, by the way. And I may talk about deck costs later on. This comes in a 2-part box, comes apart very easily. So if you need to travel with this, you would need to secure the box in a bag for sure. The guidebook sits on top of the cards, and then the cards are divided in this 2-part box. Here is the guidebook. It has the same content, I believe, as the mass market guidebook, just a different format, slightly smaller. So you can see here in the table of contents, some introductory information, the card meanings, spreads, experimental readings, and at the back she talks about some of the German tarot books that she has used over the years. For each of the major cards, you have about a half a page description. There's no reversed meanings for this deck. And then for the minors, depending on the card, it's a different length. So for example, here we have, 3 cards on one page, 2 cards on another. So it really depends on how much the artist wanted to write about each of the cards. And then at the back of the book, we have a few spreads. And there's something she calls experimental readings here. And this is really kind of interesting. She gives a much deeper perspective into the court cards. I really like this little bit here. And then at the very back, she has a summary for each of the suits. So this might be really helpful for some people. So she has a one-liner for each of the pentacles and for each of the swords. So this is actually a really nice little guidebook. It does definitely add to the deck. All right, so let's have a look at the cards. This is a smaller deck, so it fits in your hand. If I take a standard size tarot card, they're significantly smaller. So there is the Wooden Tarot, which is a standard size tarot, and then you see the Anna K. So it's a little bit wider and definitely shorter, so made for small hands. A little bit thicker too. I have edged this deck in black, and looks like I need to do it again. Yeah, so there's the backs of the cards, and this design here comes from the World card. There's the World card. So you can see that it was changed to sepia and then used on the card backs. It's really, really pretty. The card stock for these is quite thick, so I usually overhand shuffle this deck. I don't riffle shuffle it. You can, but it is very, you need thumbs of steel to riffle shuffle this deck, and I definitely wouldn't it's too thick to back bridge and to riffle shuffle, so much better to overhand. One of the nice things about this deck is the borders are really, really thin, and it's really pretty when you fan the cards like this because you can see all the different colors. They don't necessarily correspond to the same suit. So actually, yeah, these do. These are cups here, these ones, these gray ones. So we have 7, 8, 3, and yeah, we have cups. So this gray one is cups, but I know on the majors, you get a bunch of different colors for the majors. So you can't identify a major just by looking at the borders. So it's nice that they're really, really thin. One of the differences between the indie and the mass market deck is that a lot of the images were lightened in the mass market. So I think Anna intentionally made a lot of moody cards in this deck. And so the difference between the dark cards and the bright cards is it's a stark contrast. And if you look at a card like this one, for example, so here we have the Knight of Cups. In the mass market deck, it's significantly lighter. So you do get a different feeling, a different energy between the two decks. Yeah, besides just the card stock and things like that. I really, really like this deck. The cards that I decided to pull for you today, and that was actually kind of a hard decision. Here is the Ace of Rods. Okay, so the Ace of Wands, love her. The aces in this deck are young girls, and they're just beautiful. You may at first get the aces confused with the pages, but the pages are young boys, the aces are young girls. Here we have the Page of Pentacles and the Ace of Rods. Really, really lovely. I love this Page of Pentacles. He's just so happy there in his fishing connection with the earth. So yeah, and then I chose a lot of break cards for you. Here's the Wheel of Fortune. Love this one too. I think this is really well done. So you can see there's somebody climbing up the wheel or somebody rising up. Then we've got this happy couple at the top, and somebody's actually tumbling down the other side. And then in the background, we have this wise woman figure kind of overlooking the whole scene. It was difficult for me to choose which minor card to show you. I am kind of partial to the swords in this deck. I'm sure you've seen this one. It's a lot of people's favorite 8 of Swords, but she's actually looking into a mirror. And so this card amplifies the idea that this is incorrect. This is a delusion. It's not actually a correct perception. Yeah, so that one's really done. But I think overall, the swords are done really well in this deck. I pulled another one here. Here's the 10. And I actually like that he or she has actually gotten up and walking away from the scene. Yeah, and so here's an idea, like there's a dark card, right? So this is a night view. We've got the Queen of Cups, the moon, and it's intended to be a night scene. Yeah, and I like that. I like the difference in these cards. The only thing is that you cannot read this deck in a dimly lit room. So that is sometimes a problem for me. One of the places that I do readings is quite dark. So that is the indie version of the Anna K. And then we have the beautiful Rebellion Tarot by Robin L. Cole. I decided to print the PDF guidebook just because I think Robin did an amazing job with it. This deck, by the way, is available through her Etsy shop, Modern Mystic RLC, RLC being her initials. And the deck I'm showing you today is the first edition. The second edition is available, I believe, and will be shipping soon. And I'm not aware of any changes that have been made in the deck. So the guidebook includes her backstory for her creation of the deck, and then we get a full page for each of the artists that were included in the deck. So that can be really helpful information if you want to know more about the artwork itself. And then when it comes to the cards, we get a full colored picture of the painting. So on each of the cards, you might get a cropped version of the painting. So to refer to the guidebook, especially when the paintings are landscape, you're going to get a deeper perspective of the painting and the artwork itself. Robin's included a quote for each of the cards, and then keywords, and then she has some of her notes and how she views the card and why she chose to include that card in the deck. So you get that for the majors as well as the minors. You get about the same amount of information for each card. She does at the back have a few spreads. Let me lose the chopstick. And then a little bit about the artist at the back. So yeah, so like I said, this is available through her Etsy shop. When I received the deck, so it came in this box here. I believe the second version now is in a commercially printed tuck box. So this was a hand stamped box. Just really, I've saved this. I don't keep the cards in here. I keep them in the bag that was shipped with it. And then you get this cheat sheet. So if you don't choose to print that large guidebook, you have this little cheat sheet. So with the keywords for each of the cards. And it does stand up if you want it to stand up. So that's really, that's very handy. And this bag, it came with the deck. These are the backs. And I have a little bit of wearing, so this is chipping a little bit. But these are standard size cards. Let me just pull. Standard size tarot deck. Really nice card stock. So this is the kind of card stock. If you are a ripple shuffler, you will love, love, love. Feels so good. Okay. And on each card, you have the title of the card. And depending on the artwork, it may be on the top, it may be on the bottom. So the majors are numbered. And you have the title for each of them. You would not be able to read this without the keywords and titles on it. You may recognize some of the artwork. I know I've seen some of these same paintings in the Tarot of Delphi, and there was one other deck I know I recognized some of the artwork from. But a really, really beautiful deck. Yeah. Okay. The World card. I wanted to give you an example of the cropping for the cards, just so you can see. And I will zoom in. So there you have, I don't know if you can see, so you've lost just a little bit of the painting on this side and a little bit on this side. So you're getting a cropping like this. I really like this World card. And then, oh, and I just have to show you the Lovers. If you haven't seen my walkthrough on this, you should really just go through it, even in fast forward, because they're really special. Let me zoom in a little bit. So this is Tristan and Isolde. And then I wanted to show you this Five of Wands, because this is a really good example of why you need to have the PDF either printed or you need to have it handy. This is a large landscape painting called Funeral of a Viking. And in the Five of Wands, you just get a very, very small portion of the painting. So to have the guidebook really gives you a much, much bigger perspective of the energy of the card and why she chose this painting for the card. So that's the Five of Wands. This is a loosely Rider-Waite-Smith based deck, but some of them do have a different perspective. So for example, for the Six of Swords, you're looking from a completely different perspective. All of these cards have people on them. So for the aces, you do have a scene with a person, and here we have the Ace of Swords. So I think she did a really good job here. This really does show the potential energy and a new beginning. And then I chose for the court card this Queen of Pentacles. And I'm actually going to read from the guidebook. I think that Robin did a very good job with describing the court cards. And if you struggle with the court cards, this might be of help to you. The painting is called The Ghirlandata by Dante Gabriele Rossetti, circa 1873. Nurturing has the power to transform people's lives. John Maxwell. I'm going to skip the keywords and just go to her notes. As an indie girl boss and wife, I envy the woman who can effortlessly embody the Queen of Pentacles' energy. They have the drive to work full-time jobs, take care of the children, keep their house clean, and still find a way to make it to Zumba class 3 nights a week. That is so not me. I can barely get off the couch on my rare Sunday off. This queen is also the beautifier, in addition to being the homemaker. She has a very warm, motherly energy and prides herself on making her home not only stylish, but also a welcoming sanctuary for any in need of comfort. But don't mistake her for a pushover. She puts the mama in Mama Bear. I actually picture this woman in this card as being sort of glammed up Molly Weasley, ready to jump to her family's defense when they're threatened. Yeah. So there you have the beautiful Rebellion Tarot. All right, and moving to the Dame Darcy decks. These are available through damedarcy.com or through her Etsy shop, Dame Darcy. You have the Mermaid Tarot on the right and the Queen Alice Tarot on the left. Both of these come with a very similar box. So this is really smooth, it's beautiful paper with a magnetic opening on the side, and the inside of the Queen Alice Tarot has the Cheshire Cat, and then on the Mermaid Tarot you have the symbol that's on the back of the card. So let's look at the Mermaid Tarot first. Here's the box. If you haven't seen these decks, the boxes are really, really lovely. Well worth the price. The gold on the sides. These are matte cards, really nice card stock, great for overhand shuffling. And if you do riffle shuffle, let me just show you. So this one is a little thicker than the Alice deck. So you can riffle shuffle this deck, but it's on the thicker side. The backs are reversible, and then the colors are quite muted. So very, very soft greens and soft blues, soft reds. Of course, it is a mermaid theme, a sea theme. So you get lots of sea animals. The wands are oars, and the cups, there's a lot of shells. I think the suit that's done the best in this deck is the wands. I really like that. You would expect this would be a strong deck for cups, but I really think the wands are done really well in this deck. The cards I pulled for you to look at are the moon. So I really like this moon card. You can see the tentacles coming up out of the water, and I just like the way she's dancing and reaching up for the moon and celebrating in the moonlight. It's really beautiful. The aces in this deck, so sometimes you get a more Rider-Waite-Smith kind of ace, and other times you get a person on the ace. So that varies depending on the suit. I like this Ace of Pentacles. Let's leave that there. And then for the court cards, some of them I like, some of them I'm not too crazy about. This Knight of Swords I think is really well done. So you've got the knight with the spear on the, looks to me like a shark, but it's probably a dolphin or something. And then I said I like the wands in this deck. So here we have the Four of Wands, which is kind of like a, you know, a Little Mermaid kind of scene where we've got the human prince and the mermaid princess. But this one is my favorite by far. So that you can see they all have their oars and they are deep in a coral. So yeah, that's my favorite minor in this deck. All right, and then let's have a look at the Queen Alice Tarot. So what is the difference between this one and the other one? Well, this one has silver edges and it's completely different cardstock. And I love the inside of this box. But it's not about the box, is it? So you see we've got a silver edge. These are quite slippery, not as slippery as the Sawyer's Tarot. And by the way, these are standard size tarot cards. And cardstock is great, just a little slippery for me. I much prefer this cardstock on the mermaid to the cardstock on the Queen Alice. And this deck, so this deck seems a little thicker to me than the Queen Alice. So I don't know, what, it kind of depends on what, you know, what you prefer. The backs are reversible. And this is a very red looking deck. So there's a thin border and it's very, well, I guess depending on the suit, but a lot of the cards are super colorful and some are busier than others. I spent a lot of time getting to know this deck and I actually made 2 rather long videos about it if you're interested in how the storyline actually fits into the Rider-Waite-Smith meaning of the cards and how some of them are done, I think, better than others. There is no guidebook for either of these, but there is a PDF available through her website. And here is my favorite court card, the Page of Swords. And why I like this is because this gave me a new perspective on actually what the Page of Swords is. So here she is actually slaying her Jabberwocky. And as you're aware, the Jabberwocky is quite a difficult poem to recite. And I just love that metaphor. So, you know, if you can slay your Jabberwocky and kind of take that movement forward, I just, it just really appeals to me, that metaphor. The Temperance card I chose because not so much for the artwork, but for the meaning from the story. So this is the point in the story where the blue caterpillar gives her the piece of the mushroom and says that if she eats one piece of the mushroom, she'll go bigger, and another piece she'll go smaller. So I think this is a really good choice for the Temperance card. And then here we have the Duchess on the Ten of Wands. And I don't know if you remember this story, but this is a super chaotic scene in the story. We have this crying baby, which actually turns in to be a pig, and the Duchess is beside herself. Here she's drawn the 10 wands. So all the wands have these beautiful roses on them, which comes into the story from the Queen's garden with all the roses. Then the cook is here screaming, and there's this whole backstory about the pepper and the flavor of the soup, and Alice walks into the scene, and it's absolutely insane, crazy. So really well done, 10 of Wands. The aces are very Rider-Waite-Smith-esque, and so easy to use if you're familiar with Rider-Waite-Smith. So yeah, so that's the Queen Alice Tarot. The Luminous Soul Tarot, the creator studio is Liminal 11, and so their website is liminal11.com. The creator of this deck is Mike Medaglia. And when I received this deck, it came in this tuck box with the black bag as well.
And so the tuck box is just a regular, you know, tuck paper box. Nothing special. So it was really nice that it came with this bag. And then it does come with a little small guidebook. And you get, I'll just show you a little bit of the book. So here we have a single page for each of the cards. So there you have the Magician, and you have, I think, an ample description for each of the cards. And then for the Minors, you get a little bit less, but it's more than a low Scarabeo kind of little white book, that's for sure. And then at the back you have a Luminous spread and a couple of other spreads as well, more traditional ones. You've got one for relationship, a Celtic cross. Yeah. So it's nice to have this, to have a little guidebook with an indie deck. And then now you might call this completely sacrilegious. I actually trimmed an indie deck, if you can believe it. I did not like the white borders. And so my deck may look a little different than one you've seen before. So I trimmed off the white borders. These are the backs. They are not reversible. And I edged it in gold. So it is not edged when you get it. And this is what it looks like when it is trimmed. So it did have white borders, and this is what it looks like without the white borders. So I'm really, really happy with it as a trimmed deck. It's a very soft, muted colors. So the reds are soft, the greens are soft. It's just, you can just look at the palette there. If you like pastels, it is really beautiful. One of the other features of this deck is that the bodies on this deck are various sizes and shapes. So they're not all young, they're not all thin, they're not all white. So you get a good variety of ages as well too. All right, so the cards I thought I would show you. This is a Rider-Waite-Smith based deck. So the aces are pip cards basically. Really beautiful, this Ace of Discs. You see the earth, the flowers. That's really lovely. The Minors, not all the cards have people on them. Most of the cards in this deck do have people. So here's the 10 of Discs, doesn't have people. And here's probably my favorite Minor card. This is the 3 of Wands. This kind of really appeals to the yogi in me. I just like the way that they're sitting. The other thing about this deck is there is a ton of symbolism in each of the cards, so you can kind of see a new layer every time you draw a card or you work through a reading. For example, on the Temperance card here, we have, this is on also, I think this is the back of the cards here. You see this bit here? We've got a version of this here. So we've got the night sky, and then we have the daytime sky. We have this kind of illumination over the head, the rainbow, but also the idea of the chakras here. We have the wings, we have the water moving up and down. We have, this cup is definitely a different color than this cup. So we should have a gold and a silver cup. 1 foot in the water, 1 foot out. There's a path here. You can just go to so many different levels and layers with these cards. And then I pulled this court card to show you. So this is the King of Wands. And the reason I like this is it really kind of exemplifies the energy of the King of Wands. Even though he's a king, he is not sitting on his throne, right? He's still very active and full of risk and adventure and a leader and, able to ride the lion, so to speak. So that is what the Luna Soul looks like trimmed. And then we have the Tarot of Trees by Dana O'Driscoll, which is a deck that I recently pulled out for the 7-deck 7 days challenge, and really glad that I did. I've been wanting to have another look at this deck and to use it a little more. I also considered doing a comparison with the Chamonix Tarot. It has some similarities in colorations and lines and things like that. And also with the Guardian Tarot, because both of the Tarot of Trees and the Guardian Tarot are tree-based decks. Completely different look and feel, but some similar energy. And you can see that the colors are really, really vivid. Dana's website is tarottrees.com. She does have a Facebook page, but you do purchase her decks through her Etsy shop, which is called Herb Dance. And I also am aware that she's working on a companion oracle deck. So sometime in the not too distant future, there will be a companion oracle deck for the Tarot of Trees. And if you haven't seen the guidebook for the Tarot of Trees, I'll do a quick flip through the guidebook. This is a really lovely companion book. It's a piece of artwork unto itself. She has quite a bit of background information and introduction to reading with this deck. And yeah, like I said, it's just a piece of artwork in itself. So for the majors, this is how much, you get quite a bit of information for each card. And then for the minors, so there's no animals and there's no people in this deck. It's so beautiful. Yeah, so for the minors, you also get a full page for each card. And if you have trouble with court cards, you get a really good amount of information for each of the court cards as well too. Yeah. So yes, this is loosely Rider-Waite-Smith based, but it is a tree based deck. So you may find that challenging to be reading the images with trees. And then at the very, very back, you have the extra card. So the extra card is called Regeneration, and it is really lovely. All right, so let's have a look at the cards themselves. This is a very small deck, so great for people with little hands. Comes in a tuck box. And I know there also is a wood box available on her website if you want to spend the extra money. I'm actually tempted. It's a laser cut wood box. These are the card backs. They are reversible. Really, really pretty. So there's a small black border around the edges. And then on the front, you also have a black border. And all of the cards have these really vivid, bright colors. It's good card stock quality. I would recommend overhand shuffling this deck, just because if you riffle shuffle it too much, it will get a bend to it. You can, however, riffle shuffle it. I find with some of the smaller decks, they're very hard to riffle shuffle, but this paper is not so thick that you cannot riffle shuffle. Yeah, I want to show you the difference in size between this one and the Anna K Indie. So here is the Anna K Indie deck, Indie card size, and then this one. So this is really little. It's a really tiny deck. I'll turn that over so maybe you can see better there. Let's get a brighter, here's a yellow card with the Anna K. So there you go. So these are tiny cards. Really nice travel size cards. I think that the suit of wands is done, of all the minors, is the one that's done the best in this deck, because the wands are actually parts of the tree. There's been nothing added. Whereas with the swords, there's actually swords in the trees, and the cups, there's cups in the trees, and the pentacles are in the trees. But with the wands, they're actually parts of the trees. So here you have the Page of Wands. You get that sense of playfulness and lightness and energy just from, of course, you've got the butterflies, but just the way the tree is moving, and nothing has been added to the card. Okay, so same with the Seven of Wands. You've got the idea of the defense just from the positioning of the trees. Here we have the Empress, and so you get the idea of the abundance, the fertility, that feminine energy through the tree herself. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. So here's your Ace of Pentacles, and you've actually got a pentacle in the tree. And with the sword, you've got a sword in the tree. And I believe I said before there are no animals in this deck, but this may be the only animal in the whole deck, and there is a black cat in the Queen of Wands. And she's done a good job with showing the different court cards through the stability, the movement, and you really get a feel for the energy of the tree. So the court cards are done really well. If you read Rider-Waite-Smith, you can probably read this deck without a guidebook, but it does add another layer, of course, if you can refer to that.